Hi there, you all, esteemed faculty. My name is Shannon McCasland. I have worked at the college here for about 15 years, and it's funny to hear dean because I just became an associate dean, I don't know, 9 or 10 months ago, so it's kind of funny. I've worked as an adjunct instructor for many years here at the college, and listened to those guys, and I'm stressed out about what all could have happened in my classroom that I did not know, that I was not prepared for. Bearded man, I like the facial.
Now, right?
Yes, I am prepared now. I am prepared now. So I looked at your schedule, and I know that you have learned about sexual harassment. We have talked about now, threats on campus, and what an upper of a morning. And now I stand here to talk about conduct in between you and lunch. So I promise to be done at noon or a little before, depending on how many questions you'll have. Also want you to know I'm fairly new at this, but have been watching the process for a while and have been doing some conduct hearings. Also was a hall director at CSU. If you've ever worked in residence life, you know what discipline and conduct is, especially when the Rams live in your building. So I've had a lot of good times in my background in terms of residence life, but now here at Ames, have some other different kinds of things to talk about. My partner in crime, Dean Matijevic, was not able to be here this morning. She's called into some other senior management kinds of meetings, so that's all right. I'm good with that because we're gonna watch a little fun video. I just did a little search in YouTube, and I don't know if you've also searched YouTube, but to look at how professors like to deal with cell phones. But I know I can relate to this one, and so I'm going to start with it just because we need some levity after our morning. We'll see if my technology will work with us. Kind of hard to hear. Notice it says, what's the purpose of this class?
Texting in my class.
Are you texting in my class?
Maybe, okay. Nice phone.
Nice phone. Worth a,
Oh, I can
you got it for a discount, worth a couple $100.
What investment was there?
That is what we want to do. Look at how quiet they are.
So can you legally do that? Okay, just making sure.
Watch.
Never a good idea.
Never a good idea.
AJ, do something. AJ can take a bow.
Take a bow. He totally set him up. I thought, wow, that would really stress you out in that class, right? But no, obviously that's not the way to deal with it. I have seen instructors, side note here, take phones and keep them at their desk and things like that. And of course, there's thousands of videos of instructors, damaging the phone, putting it in water, that kind of thing. I don't think that obviously this college would support that kind of thing, but you for sure should have a statement in your syllabus regarding cell phones and how you're going to react to those if they're out and being used as texting devices, things like that. I just had some fun with that. We'll talk about that in just a little while. And thought that I would weave some cartoons in here as well as we talk. We have, and you've already heard from two of the people, and I'm the third, really here to represent the third prong in the approach to campus safety. You've heard from Todd from the public safety standpoint. You've heard from John. Did he talk some about how he can help you as a partner intervene on behavioral kinds of things? Okay, good. Great partner for you as faculty. And then the Dean of Students Office to partner with you on the Student Code of Conduct. Our mission is always about student learning. We partner with you alongside you to ensure that that's happening. So our goal really on student conduct is to make the best decision for the student. We want the student to thrive. We want the student to meet his or her goals. And we want the student to stay at Ames. But there always are a few who don't fit for whatever reason. And that plays out in a behavioral kind of way and different kinds of choices that students make. And so, but that's our goal. And we do have some students whose brain is full. I was thinking about when I was in college back in the long ago 80s, we didn't have, obviously, the internet. And I think students are just a little more assertive / aggressive. And maybe that's due to, I know I'm constantly blaming social media, but maybe that's due to social media and their ability to put their voice out there, and their lack of filters. I think that plays out in the classroom, and most of you have probably already been teaching in other environments and in other places, and so you've already seen that and may agree or disagree with me on that. But here's what I think that the challenges are with our students today at Ames, and probably nationally. At a community college, though, what some students are coming in with an immaturity, and sometimes that's related to their age, because we have students who can come here at age 14 or 15 with the right approvals in place. But sometimes it's not due to age. I had a 33-year-old student who was very immature this last semester in a conduct situation. So that, along with, and I don't think some of them have obviously developed fully yet, ignorance or not knowing the college's expectations. I have a hard time with that because it's everywhere, from orientation, which they do online when they first enter the college, to the student handbook, which you have in front of you. We'll talk about that here in a minute. They receive a letter from the dean every semester around what the expectations are. The AAA course, if you've heard of that yet, Advancing Academic Achievement, that's our first year experience course. Talk a lot about it there. And then, of course, you're going to talk about it. So I have a hard time, but there are challenges for students who claim that they didn't know. I do think that the first in the family students have a pressure to succeed at all costs. And so sometimes, not just them, but a lot of students that we see in conduct, I would classify as they're just under a ton of pressure. Obviously, things like depression, anxiety, mental health disorders, panic attacks, bipolar, those kinds of things sometimes are the trigger for behavior and misbehavior in class. And then obviously the all-encompassing poor choices. I have a lot of conversations with students about choices equal consequences. Very much back to transactional analysis if you're into psychology and counseling. Choices equal consequences. But then obviously here's all the stressors that will occur. We have, and I see them right here, so I think we need to hand them out. Did we not hand out? Oh no, that's okay. Oh, and then we just didn't keep passing. Here, pass on. Oh wait, pass on, that didn't sound right. The presentation outline is right there for those of you who want that. And then my business card so that you can have a direct line and email address for us. What's coming around is a brochure about our personal counseling services, which we've only had on board at the college for a couple of years now. We're very, very happy. That is a very busy area of the college because of so many students needing, because of life situations and different things, needing to access that service. So that's a very good thing for you to know about that's on campus, and a great place for you to refer. This isn't for long-term counseling. They're coming. The college will provide students 6 to 8 sessions in personal counseling. Longer term counseling, then we refer to outside organizations. Okay? So the conduct policy and procedures are administered by myself and Dr. Matajevic. There's 2, and you'll find these online. We'll look at it here in a minute. Procedures, how we expect students to behave, and then how we administer the conduct process, what the sanctions are, what options are available to us. as contract officers for the college. Your expectations, and I'll show you some places online in the faculty toolbox, which Trish has probably already talked about. Oh, okay, cool. We're going to look at a couple things in there related to your syllabus. Your expectations of behavior in the class should be very specific on your syllabus. And I'll give you some ideas of where to go to get some language related to that. Your department chair will probably also have language that he or she would want to share with you. That's what tells students what you will allow and what you will not allow. So what do we expect of students? We really want to see them obviously demonstrate qualities of civility and respect. And you, as faculty members, are the role models of that. So that's why the cell phone thing wouldn't really work out. There's other ways to deal with the cell phone besides the funny video, but you're the role model. Now, if you look at page 35 through 39 in the student handbook, students all receive this via the bookstore, lots of different connection points. If you have a student or students that don't have them yet, send them to the student life office or the bookstore, and that's where they'll get them. Their student fees pay for it. So when they pick it up, it's free. But you'll see on page 35, the list of the beginning of, and 36, 37, the prohibited behaviors, along with then on the end of page 37, the list of available sanctions. And if we followed this, this is on our public website. The students can see this very easily. The code of conduct is all on this community standards and student conduct webpage. So talks about the disciplinary meeting, how to appeal, consequences of behaving inappropriately in your classroom. Those are all things you might want to read when you're crafting your statement about your expectations in class. Midway through the exam, Ellen pulls out a bigger brain. So we have 8 categories of prohibited behaviors. 2 happen the most frequently. Can you guess what number 1 is? Yay! 10 points for every faculty member here in the room. That's right, cheating. Plagiarism, cheating. And then number 2, this will kind of give you an idea of what number 2 might be. Disruptive behavior. Usually is the next thing that ends up at our desk from you to us. Because it's pretty hard to teach when that's going on in a consistent way, at least. So here's the list of prohibited behaviors, and the cheating, obviously, and plagiarism all falls under number 1. And it's a fairly comprehensive list. What I want to, let me see. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, let's look at the next slide. So, when thinking about how you can, let's talk about cheating and plagiarism for a minute. We are here, Dr. Matijevic and I are here to help you. And so you have a few options related to student cheating or plagiarizing in your class. This is your class. We will do and help with you the way you want us to. So there's a few options pre-reporting of an incident. So something has happened in your classroom under number 1. I would categorize your options to be at least 3. Trish, tell me if there's another that I'm missing. You could just deal with it yourself. You know, take them aside after class, have the chat, the come to Buddha chit chat, and let it go at that. You could talk to, and that could be done in agreement with your department chair. Yeah. Number 2, you could, and actually you could also involve John Foltz if you wanted. None of that would be quote unquote, documented anywhere. Okay? If you want to take it up a small notch, you could go ahead and do all of that I just talked about and send it in a report of incident, but only because you want to have it in this conduct database that only a few of us have access to, myself, the dean, and the president. Because if there's a pattern later, that's good to have. If you just deal with it, that's fine with us, but of course the college later knows nothing that you did that. Okay? So number 2 is deal with it yourself, but put it in there and let us know that it's, for right now, case closed. Number 3 is a formal documentation of the incident, and we'll go through this process here, which will take it straight to Dr. Matajevic or myself, and we will make a determination on the part of the college in the discipline process. So obviously you're going to submit the report. We're going to end up talking to you via phone or email real quick to just make sure that we understand. Charge will be determined. Usually it's going to be just the basic number 1 back here, conduct relating to act of dishonesty. A hearing will ensue. We'll determine responsibility and what the sanction will then be. Now, there's a list of sanctions, but first we have what we say in a conduct hearing, or what you might say to the student and what they hear. Blah, 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 ginger, blah, blah. Hopefully not, but that's a possibility. But what consequences we have go all the way from warning all the way to college expulsion and the items down below that, which are very serious. And expulsion, of course, appears on your transcript when you're trying to transfer somewhere. None of the rest of these things do, but expulsion does. So, in a first situation plagiarism or cheating case in your classroom, for example, or a behavioral case, you know, unless it was really something large, it's normally going to end up in a warning for a sanction. Maybe probation if it was really something fairly large. So you can see why we don't want to have syllabus statements say, first time I'm going to warn you, second time you're expelled. Because the college conduct policy and procedures don't allow for that. So even if you're Marcia Driscoll sitting in the back and you've been teaching here for
Ever.
since the dinosaurs,
That's right.
even Marcia can't expel. Now, how could we get a student out of our class for a minute, say it was a behavioral kind of thing? Then you would want to give us submit the incident report, talk to your chair, talk to us. We can work with getting a student temporarily out of your class in order to have the hearing, so they can't maybe come back to class until the hearing has occurred. And then we'll determine on the college has to determine if the student can, or the conduct officer, whether the student can go back to your class or whether we can change and put them in another class. But that's definitely not a decision you can make. The college has given that responsibility to Dr. Matajevic as the Dean for Student Services. Have I explained that okay? Marcia in the back or anybody who's listening? Okay?
Just so they know that whenever they're having trouble, talk to their chair.
Absolutely. Chair John Foltz, that's why he's there in the same building with a lot of the faculty. Yeah, everybody's here to support you. If something's going on in your class that is taking away from the learning environment, let's get it dealt with. The first time I heard a faculty say this to me one time, I was like, oh my word, that's so true. Have you all heard it? The first time something happens, it's the student's fault. The second time it happens, whose fault is it? Yeah, the teacher's fault. I've heard that and I thought, oh, that even applies to my children. That's a little too real. So we're here to, there's your list for your syllabus. No, I'm just kidding. A few rules on the first day of school. Here's the incident report, and you can find this on the Public Aims webpage. Just show it to you here. Here's the Community Standards and Student Conduct webpage. And you would just go to report a concern. Notice up here, it says Maxient. That's the name of our software system that holds conduct cases. So what this does is you feed into this form. You can even attach files. I've seen faculty attach their syllabus statement and the paper or the test or whatever it was that, that was plagiarized or where the cheating occurred. All sorts of things can be attached in there. Okay? You've already heard from our sheriff's group, and there's their web page. Counseling Services has a web page as well. Our Mediation, Advocacy, and Assistance Program is led by Ron Fay, and that's in your handout as well, his name. He's the Director of Student Life, and he's there to partner with students on student-to-student conflict issues, student-to-faculty issues, faculty-to-student. You know, he's there to partner with if it's something that's maybe not disciplinary, but it's becoming a challenge or a problem in your class. And then, of course, this should actually be at the top, right, Marcia? Your department chair and academic dean, your biggest resources. So here we are talking about a clear statement of expectations in your syllabus, being consistent, and then documenting. And I'm going to show you. Oh, let's see, here we are. All right, if you log into your, have any of you logged in and you probably haven't received are they going to receive a MyAIMS
It's
username?
probably about 50-50 how many people have their credentials yet.
These things take a while.
Actually, raise your hand if you know how to log into MyAIMS yet.
50-50.
Raise your hand if you don't. Maybe that's a better way.
Yeah, one,
Okay,
two.
we'll be sure to cover that. You
Okay.
should get a letter from HR that has your username and a temporary password in snail mail. Does that sound? Where's your perfect?
I do it on the full-time side, I'm not quite sure on the part-time side. Typically, IT gets to them and talks them through this.
I will work on that for you guys.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Trish, because that's important. Because obviously this is your portal for your email and all sorts of different things. As you can see, here's the tabs at the top. I'm going to start with faculty tab and show you just a couple things. Trish has been working hard on this faculty toolbox. Here's the community standards I've been looking at. It's there. It's also on the public side. But this is the what do they say? Intranet here for us. So we're going to go to faculty toolbox. And it's too big for the screen, but we're going to go down to classroom information. Let's see if I'm going to do this. Syllabus information. All right, let's do that. And look at all this great stuff that you can look at in terms of some wording and some information for your syllabus. And here's some syllabus samples. Check that out later. Right now we're going to go to standard syllabus policies. It's very well hidden in here. You'll have to play to find these things. Student conduct. So here is a college statement. And look what it says. Students are expected to practice academic honesty. They must refrain from any forms of cheating, plagiarism, or knowingly furnishing false information to the college. Refrain from expressing derogatory opinions concerning race, gender, ethnicity. Should avoid using obscene language. We might add some other things here, and you absolutely could. Okay? Sexual orientation should be there. Each student is responsible for contributing to a positive learning environment in classroom situations because respect for the learning process is critical. No behavior that disrupts another student's ability to learn will be tolerated. Okay, so we don't say how, but it's not going to be tolerated. Students who conduct themselves contrary to the best interest of the class as a whole may be referred, see our wording here? Just to cover all of us, okay? May be referred to the dean for student services for disciplinary action. Violations of the code may result in disciplinary measures up to and including, okay, so that's strong right there, but those are all the options in terms of sanctions. This here, while long, is a good cover yourself, we'll call it, a good little CYA statement for all of us, for you, and then for us to be able to act in partnership with you if you so desire, okay? Say that always, if you want us to help you. If we go back, here's one. Oh, boy, I don't know how to use my, y'all are going to be way better at this than I am. Okay, so here's one that I pulled, much simpler, from a psychology syllabus. An atmosphere of respect is the only acceptable atmosphere in this class. Any student engaging in disruptive, rude, or mean-spirited behavior will be warned and or asked to leave. Refer to the student handbook. So it's nice to give them a website to tell them where the student code is, or the student handbook is fine. Notice this one is mostly just about behavior, not about cheating and plagiarism. Okay, well, here's the MAP program that I just talked about. First level, administered by Ron Fay. First level referral addresses a student complaint, issue, concern, or problem with an employee or department or another student. Ron will advise the student about proper procedures to not forego procedures, but here are the procedures. Here's what you need to do to work on this, and assist if advocacy is requested. And once again, we can do student to employee, student to student. Those would be a little different than violations of the student code of conduct. But good for you to know that this is also there. There's multiple levels of resource depending on the hopefully non-problem that you're going to have in your class. No problems, right? We talked about problems all morning, haven't we? So here's the, and you've got this in your listing, the resources available. Students, once again, this is the place where they would learn about these things. Look at all these touch points. And there's probably more that I didn't even write on there. And then on your last page, there's some contact information for Dr. Matijevic, myself, and then Ron Fay as the director of the mediation and advocacy program. Okay, so what kinds of questions or issues maybe have I failed or neglected to address that you might be thinking about that could help you with your Maslow hierarchy of needs right now?
Do any
Besides
of you have
lunch.
previous teaching experience where you maybe had a student issue that you would go ahead and share? And you know, you don't need to give the student's name or anything, but give us some examples of an issue, and we could tell you how we'd recommend it be handled here in Ames.
I have one.
Yeah, let's hear.
So I was actually subbing for another instructor. She comes in for a class. And this class didn't know me, and I didn't know them. And one of my rules was you put your cell phones away. Well, obviously that wasn't a rule she had in her class. But I asked everyone that before we got started, you need to put your cell phones away. And I had a couple of students who took offense to that and were disruptive and rude throughout the rest of the class, making noise, talking to each other, giggling, just being kind of obnoxious. And I, right or wrong, about 3/4 of the way through the course, it was a 4-hour class, I stopped in the middle of my time with the students and said, excuse me, you have a choice. You may either leave the classroom at this time, and I'll let your instructor know that you chose to leave, or I'm going to ask you to quit being disruptive to the class, because you're being disrespectful to me, and you're being disrespectful to your fellow students. And the choice is yours. And they sat there the rest of the class. They chose to stay. They chose not to participate, and I didn't do anything about that. I just let them be, because they stopped being disruptive. My question was, is it really okay to call them out in the middle of the classroom like that?
I say yes.
Say, stop your behavior now.
You could really do it one of two ways. You could say, okay, we're going to take a bathroom break, dismiss the class, and pull those to a side and talk to them in the hall. Or you could call them out publicly. Because you're the advocate for the rest of the students in the class, and the rest of the students are probably thinking, I wish they'd shut up.
They're paying. I mean, in this
They are
environment,
customers.
they're paying to be here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I left that.
Absolutely.
It seemed like the right thing to do, but then afterwards I'm sure
I think one thing that I have seen as a faculty member is that usually most faculty are here a good 3 years before they realize that they really are empowered to control the classroom like that. And I'm trying to fix that and let people know you're, from day one, you are empowered. And if anyone is disruptive, even if it's being just refusing to participate, that's also disruptive. And that's also a violation of the code of conduct. And you, as the faculty member, are absolutely empowered, and you are backed up by this institution to fix that. Because they are paying customers in that class that are being affected by that. And that's why we have John, and we have Shannon, and we have Dr. Metajevic. And I can tell you hands down, every experience I've had with any of these guys, they got your back, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, you're the boss.
You are the boss.
Well, I felt like it in that class.
Yeah. I've subbed a few times and had some fairly bad, even here, some experiences that were not something I would write home about, and ended up dealing with John, and then the person in the position before he was there, and then with the full-time, the instructor whose class it was. So lots of ways to go about that one, but
Anyone else have a naughty student story?
yeah.
During a revising stage, I wanted to give out a sample paper that I had written to match an assignment. And some student who didn't show up that day later turned in with his name on it.
That's awesome. How'd you handle it?
I feel them, and I don't remember, it was a few years ago, but I think we didn't pursue like super serious expulsion or anything like that.
Yeah, but failed them. Yeah, we dealt with a couple of those, similar, not exactly the instructor's work, but co-students' work, where they just slapped their name on it. What do they think? Y'all are not, hello, you're engaged, you'll notice. And so, yeah, those definitely, you can put that in your syllabus, and those can be zeros on the assignment, or it can be a failing grade in the class. Mm-hmm.
I just had a question, because obviously plagiarism is a big deal. Is that an issue that you talk about or write about in the AAA class, or are there, I've talked to my chair about this, and because I'm teaching an introductory class.
In English?
It's not, political science.
Oh, poli-sci.
It's not clear how far along they'll be, so I'm trying to balance that expectation. So I'm just trying to get a judgment of where that is, so I don't, throw them on the rack when they're not supposed to.
Where it is institutionally, we've tried some whole college kinds of initiatives, and it's just hard to reach everyone. Yes, AAA, it's covered, but AAA is only mandated for students who test into developmental education coursework. So that's not all students. I know most English instructors in the 121 class in ONI and they're covering it every time, assuming that students don't know. So, it depends on when you're getting them in your political science class. You're probably getting them in the first or second semester, depending on how they tested. I would assume they haven't heard what they need to hear. Yeah. Yeah. So you find yourself talking about it every semester, and that's what lots of people say, but at least then we can't go back to ignorance.
Right.
It's not bliss.